What we're going to do today is we're going to change your frequency and your energy today. That's my goal. Your goal is just to sit there and have an open heart, have an open mind, and allow this process to happen. If you're more intellectually inclined, you're going to listen to the stories and try to analyze them. What does that mean? Why is he telling me this story? Why are we doing this? Why isn't he talking directly about healing? Well, you're going to find that opening the heart chakra is going to be a little more hard for you. So I'm telling you right now, pretend this is my kindergarten class. We're all playing together because even the teachers in kindergarten. Because I've never grown up. I refuse. I'll go down fighting. I trust the universe. I trust my divine father, my divine mother. I trust. When that airplane was turning around, I knew I was going to get back. We were going to land. I knew I was going to eventually, I'm calling Sharon up. Sharon, it looks like I don't know we're going to be there. Oh, get another flight. Nah, don't worry about it. We'll be there. I promised I'd be here, and I'm a man of my word. And I would have come here if I had to drive my truck from the airport 600-700 miles down here. Wouldn't have made any difference. But I already saw myself here, so I wasn't worried. And I saw those of you that are here now as well. If you're here, you're supposed to be here. Simple as that. I don't worry about who doesn't show up. That's their problem. I'm here to nurture your frequency. I'm going to try to awaken that. I'm going to show you things, and you notice the name of this workshop that you're in, it's not Reverend Bill, the traveling love show or something. This is not Reverend Bill's healing. This is called self-healing. I can't create a scab on your body. Only you can. You go to a doctor, you trust a doctor, you're probably going to get results. He gives you a pill, you believe in the pill, you're probably going to get results. If you go to a witch doctor, you're probably going to get results if that's what you believe. So don't downgrade when they talk about, well, that's placebo effect, because that is you at work. That's what you believe, and that's what it's really all about. It's what you believe. If you believe today that you're going to be changed, your frequency is going to be altered, your vibration is going to change, and you're going to have some healing on the body, the mind, or the spirit, that's exactly what happened. You will be gifted to the level of your own belief. Nothing to do with me. The only thing doing with me is most of you have not awakened the energy that's in you. Your battery, your spiritual battery is low, or it's dead in some cases. It needs a charge. So we're going to do that towards the end of this event. And when I'm putting my hands on you and recharging you, Reverend Bill is basically awakening the power in you to do your own self-healing. People go, oh, I went to the workshop and I got healed and Reverend Bill did this. And I go, no. It only worked because you believed it. Believe it. You are the healer. You are the guru. You are the teacher. There is nothing more in life or death or anything else in the whole creative universe than the one. Now, what does Reverend Bill mean by that? There's only one. Just God. There is nothing else. And to me, God is love. That get down to the basics. You can call God Jesus, you can Krishna, Buddha, it doesn't make no difference. God don't care. It's all about the love. Creation was all about love. And when we believe our own personal stories, our own personal histories, like I'm born, I might have reincarnation, I live this life, I die, I'm going to go to heaven, I'm going to go to hell, I'm going to come back. If you believe all that, that is your reality. Your reality. The ultimate reality is none of that ever happened, or is going to happen, or has happened. I always get a kick out of these people. I go to some event and you always get some guy up on the stage and he goes, I remember back 33 of my lifetimes ago and I walked with Jesus and I walked with Buddha and heck, I was Buddha. And And people go, is that true, Reverend Bill? And I said, well, you know what? Since there's only one, we were all William Shakespeare. We were all Mary. We were all the Archbishop of whatever. We were all the saints. None of it's a lie because there's only one. But your personal ego, your personality believes that you're this individual. And we start doing this right in the get-go. When we need something and we're in trouble, we pray to God. To God, like God's out there, God's up here, God's, it's it's not within you. And I'm telling you that God and you are one. So that's where people hear me talk about self-love, loving yourself. Come on in. Welcome. Thank you for coming. So this is all about self-love. If you really want to heal, it's all about loving and forgiving yourself. As trite as that sounds, I first heard this expression when I was 18 years old. I was living in the Hawaiian Islands. I was a surfer. I went there from California, and I met this kahuna priest, David K. Bray, and he was the real deal. His ancestors descended down from being the kahuna, back when King Kamehameha was on the islands. And he told me I was 18 and he was like 66, I think, someplace like that. And he goes, Bill, says, you want to learn how to heal? And I go, yeah, okay. I was his apprentice. Okay, yeah, okay. He says, first thing you got to do is you got to love yourself. And I'm going, oh, this conversation is going really good. I'm going to heal others by loving myself. And then he goes, and you got to forgive yourself. I go, yeah, okay, fine. And you got to have gratitude and all that stuff that now you're reading about in hundreds of books, thousands of videos about Ho'oponopono, whatever all that stuff is, right? Everybody's discovering the Hawaiian stuff. Well, I'm talking about the ancients had that for thousands of years in Polynesia. And it's always been at its root foundation about self-love. Without self-love, there could be no healing. There could be no giving or gifting of your love to anyone else. You can't forgive anybody else if you can't forgive yourself. So we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about how this process worked with me. If some of you have been following me on Facebook, a couple of you probably have, August 15th, I had facial surgery. August 15th. 10 days later, I was in the hospital in the ER because it was a bloody mess. I had blood burst out all over you. Maybe somebody saw some pictures of that. That's less than a month ago. Except for the hole on top of my head when my brains aren't leaking out yet, so I'm safe. But I cover it. I just want to keep the elements off it. And everybody's taller than me, and they look down and go, oh, you got a hole in your head. Yeah. All right. So healing of all kinds is created by you, yourself, your love. So if you want to heal somebody else, because some people are coming here today, they want to learn how to heal others. I'm telling people, always start with you. Heal you and you change the world. You really do. So I'm going to show you two methods today, and we'll get into how I discovered those and why they work. First method deals with self-realization fellowships. In case you wonder why we had a little dose of that today, I figured you guys would understand. The recharging exercises. Everybody know about the recharging exercises? Okay, we'll talk a little bit about that. Yogananda put together these lessons for people that join the organization, how to meditate. Most people want to read that, how to meditate. But I think lesson 7, about the 7th week, they teach you how to recharge your body to meditate. And most people just look at that and go, oh, okay, this is preliminary. They don't give it a lot of serious thought and attention. I was, how old was I? 8.5 years old and deathly sick. So sick that I was taken to the county hospital, made a ward of the county. My parents left. 10 minutes later, I'm in a room. They tell me I'm probably not going to make it. And I spent the next year of my life in a hospital room, total bed rest. And the next 5 or 6 years taking medicine for a kidney disease, for lung disease, for a bunch of other stuff. the mechanical ohm. And he agrees. That's the whole truth, right? All right. So when I went in the hospital the first night, some of you have probably seen on there where I had a near-death experience. I had this experience where at 8.5 years old, that's pretty young. You haven't lived too much of life. So if you notice, most people telling a near-death experience, they talk about, oh, I had a past life review. You know, they went back to my life and all the stuff I did wrong, you know. I'm 8.5 years old. I mean, what have I done, right? You know, I pulled my sister's braids, you know, I don't know. I had a 50-year life preview going forward, which enabled me to know a lot of things, do a lot of things. For example, in high school, told principal and some teachers and some people in school 2 weeks before Kennedy was assassinated, I told my school, President Kennedy is going to get assassinated in Dallas, you know, when he comes there. Yeah, Bill. Yeah. Okay, calm down. Come on. Now, if I did that in today's atmosphere, I would have had the FBI, Secret Service, and all the G-men at my house, and I would have been being questioned, right? What? But back then, I just said it, and then it happened. But I knew who I was going to marry, my kids, I knew where I was going to live, I knew where I was going to job. I saw Vietnam, because people go, oh, you were so brave in Vietnam, you did all these things. And I'm going, anybody can be brave if you know what's going to happen. The brave guy is the guy that's, you know, afraid, and he does it anyway, right? So don't get carried away believing Reverend Bill's really brave. Reverend Bill is this, trusting. Trusting. I know when I get up in the morning, whatever's supposed to happen to me will happen. Nothing in my life ever goes wrong. And people go, what do you mean nothing ever goes wrong? You got blown up by a rocket. You're in 8 helicopter crashes. You got shot with a machine gun. You got motorcycle crash, car crashes. You fell off a 2-story house twice on a cement driveway. The list goes on, right? You've had 12 major heart attacks. You got diabetes. You got heart disease. You got cirrhosis of the liver. You got your back is collapsed. The list goes on and on and on. And I go, yeah, and everything's happened as it's supposed to happen. No problem, no complaint. Never in my life have I ever gotten in my wife's face or anybody's and said, why me? Why me? God, you pick it up. Why me? Never. My answer always is, why not me? Why not? It's like when I got this, those have been following the pictures, I got cancer in the face. And at break time, if you want to see some pictures, I'll show them to you. But I posted pictures after one of my surgeries or 2 of my surgeries, just after it's been healing for a week. And I put them on there, and I ended up in Facebook jail. And across my pictures is stripe and warning, graphic, violent image. It's my face. I'm going, wow, well, that'll wake you up. So in the last several years, I've had my nose completely removed 3 times. I know that sounds a lot more fun than it really was, but you know, but it wasn't. I've had cancers taken out of right below my eye sockets. I've had a saw taken to the top of my head, a little buzz saw, you know, cut the top of the head, take cancer out of the skull. I've had them taken out of my shoulder, my neck, my arms. I've been fighting this since 1979, if anybody's keeping score. But in the last few years, it really got intense. And again, why me? And I'll tell you why me. Because all these things happen to me and I'm going, all right, God, what's the gift? You're hiding it with all the wrappings. Go on, what's the gift? Why do I got this? Come on, give me the good part. And there's always the gift. And in this case, when I went through this and I didn't take pain meds, not once. I'm talking they cut your nose off, they burn it, if you ever had it done, and then they stitch it, and then the next day they do an operation and sew some part of your body onto it. By this version of the nose right now, that's my shoulder. Okay, I don't want to give you guys a shoulder here, but there you go. So by not taking the pain pills, I wanted to teach myself a way that I could teach others how to reduce their pain. Because there's people out there that got back pain terrible. There's people out there that got all kinds of pains. Pain will break you from your meditation, it'll break you from your spiritual path. Because most people can't handle physical, mental, and spiritual pain. Therefore, alcohol, drugs, something else. So showing that I could do it, and I'll tell you how we'll get into that, and I'll tell you some of my experiences. By showing people how to do that, I can help them. If nothing else, I can help with their pain. And then I also show people that just like I looked like a monster for 3 weeks, on the 4th week I look like this. When I go back to VA, now realize the Veterans Administration, for those who aren't familiar with VA, I go there because I'm a disabled vet from Vietnam. I go there and they do the surgery. They don't really do quote unquote plastic surgery. They're not there to beautify you afterwards. The guy basically tells me, we're just going to close up the holes. We can't have these holes open, so we're just going to sew everything up, just close it. Whatever it is, it is. And then I'll come back 2-3 weeks later and the doctor surgeon will come in and go, my God, did I do that work? That is beautiful. That's, wow. And he gets a camera and he brings another, 2-3 doctors come in and they go, wow, look at the great work I did. I go, yeah, doc, yeah, it was all you. So let me tell you about the first technique. First technique of healing, which can be applied to healing others or yourself, but it works good with others. When I say others, I'm talking about family members, your pets, somebody's really close to you, because you have to develop, and this is going to sound terrible for those who are in the healing business, you just don't go around indiscriminately healing people. People have karma that's being burned up by that disease. You know, that maybe you don't know the reason why they're doing that. You take away the disease, how are they going to burn the karma? Okay? You're also opening up the door for, you're taking on some of that, which happens to a lot of people. So you got to really be careful. So you don't go around the world, and if you're going around the world trying to, quote unquote, heal people, then you miss the first part of my message, which was, this is self-healing. Okay? I don't call myself, people online, oh, Reverend Bill, he cured me this, he cured me that, he fixed my, my daughter said, hey, you fixed my broken kneecap, you took me out of a coma, whatever it is. I've gotten credit for all kinds of stuff. That happened, but Reverend Bill didn't do nothing. That's like, you go into a great restaurant, you have a meal, right? The cook was good. The food was cooked, by this great stuff that came from the farm. You didn't have nothing to do with that. You go to the table, you just bring the meal to the guy, and the guy eats it. Well, he ate it, he enjoyed it. And he hugs the waiter, and I'm going, wait a minute, I didn't do any of that. I'm just your waiter. So I'm just bringing you the energy. I'm bringing you the information and the tools that you need to become your own self-healer. That's where you start. Later on, for those people starting next year, I'll be doing small groups of people, probably starting on Zoom and then some retreats, where I'm going to teach people to carry my message forward. In other words, I don't know if I look it, but my next birthday I'll be 78 years old. So I'm not as pretty as young as I look. I'm actually older and uglier when you look at me. Don't blow up any pictures, you'll see it. But basically, I have no wrinkles. I feel young inside, even though I got, if you looked at x-rays, if you look at a doctor's report, you go, we were talking about it earlier when you were talking about that, looking at all the stuff wrong with somebody. If you look at mine, you're going to go, oh my God, you should have been dead 10 years ago. I go, thank you. How you think about yourself is even more healing. If every time you're feeling bad and somebody asks how you are and you say, oh my God, I feel terrible. I got this, I got that, I got arthritis, I got that too. You got this, you go through this whole list of stuff with somebody, you're reaffirming that. You ask me how I'm feeling, I'm almost feeling good. I got 3 levels. There's, I'm good, I'm better than good, and I'm excellent, depending on my mood. But never am I bad, never am I ill, never am I injured, never am I sick. I don't see myself in any of those levels. I always see myself as this. So when I'm getting my face cut up, literally cut up, And to be honest with you, when you look in the mirror and you come home and you go, whew, whew, my wife couldn't look at me. I mean, it was like painful for her. And she had to go watch 15 surgeries in 2 years of this. It was painful for her. And I could see it in her face, like, oh, yeah, okay, you know. So I don't see myself that way when I look in the mirror, though. I see myself healed. I know it's happening. I know it's happening as soon as they're through cutting. First time I had my nose cut off, 2010. I don't remember. I had so many. 2010. And I go in there, and the doctor goes, when I talked to him, he was a quote unquote plastic surgeon. The guy was going to fix it. And he tells me what he's going to do, and he tells my wife what he's going to do. I've already got my nose cut off. I'm talking to the guy. I'm sitting, I just got bandages everywhere. And he goes, yeah, he tells my wife, he says, I'm going to cut all the skin off his forehead, but I'm going to leave it attached to here. I'm going to flip the skin over upside down. I'm going to sew that onto that. I'm going to take pieces of his ear to fill in there, and I'm going to take a piece from here and a piece from there. It was a big surgical thing, and he had a graph picture of my face with little graphs with all the stuff he was going to do and how many stitches it was going to be. He told me he'd been doing that method for 30 years. My wife's going, oh my God. And then he says, well, when that heals, I got to get rid of the bump and I got to fix that. So we got talking 6, 7 surgeries after this. Okay. Now, what he didn't know was the night before that surgery, when I had my face totally cut up and bandaged and bleeding, 4 o'clock in the morning. You guys remember 4 o'clock in the morning? That's like Shiva time, right? The room lights up. I'm not in a room with my wife because I'm ugly looking and I'm bleeding on her and everything. So I'm in the room and the whole room lights up like cinematographer lights. It was like lights everywhere, like brighter than the sun. I turn around with one eye's all patched up, the other eye's open, and I look and I see this blazing sun, this orb, just huge. 9-foot wall, it's a 9-foot orb and it's got to be 9 foot across. And I see this bare arm reaching out with a hand on the end of it, right from the wall, 10 feet away, right from the wall, his hand comes out from the orb, and it just grabs my entire face. And I could feel this love, this instant, thank you for coming, just relax, no problem. I could feel this instant love. It was overwhelmingly love. Now, first off, you got to ask, you're laying there and you look over and you see this, you see an arm coming up and you're not excited? No, it wasn't. Nor did I go, oh, what is this? Did I analyze it? No, I just said, okay, I kind of expected that. It was like, it happens every day. It was like, okay. Most people get too excited, they try to analyze it and they're using their mind, thing disappears, it's gone. Don't question things when they happen, just flow with them. So, I don't know how much time went by. It could have been 10 minutes. It could have been an hour. But I felt this vibrating love just vibrating all around my face, nose, eye sockets. All right. A couple hours later, we get in the car. We go to the surgeon. The surgeon describes all this stuff to my wife. We're going to do all this crazy stuff. And I'm just totally like a child, trusting. I said, you know, whatever is. Whatever happens, it's okay. My wife is, oh, my God, you got to go 6, 7 surgeries. I go, whatever happens, it's okay. I'm going in there trusting because I know that was Babaji, right? Come out of the surgery, I'm in a wheelchair, and they're waking me up, and my wife's going, she's looking at me like what happened? And I go, oh, well, this must have really been bad because she's like really excited. She asked to have the doctor come out and explain what he did to me. So the doctor comes out and she says, well, why'd you do that? It doesn't look like what you said you were going to do. Nothing off the forehead. And he goes, well, you know what? This is odd. He says, I've been doing this surgery 30-something years my way, every exact time, following this formula, and I spent an hour on graph paper analyzing yours, planned it last night, planned it this morning, told my staff exactly what I was going to do. But when I went in there to cut and sew and patch, I had another idea. Just came to me. I just took a chunk of your shoulder. He says, I had never done that before. I didn't know you could do that. But I go, I was inspired. This is the doctor told me. I was inspired. I just took a piece of your shoulder and molded it and fooled around with it and sewed it on there. So I'd never done that before. 10 days later, I go into his office. 10 days. And anybody here in the medical world? Anybody do stitches? Okay, some of you do, okay. You put a stitch in, skin doesn't grow that fast. It's pretty slow. I don't know if you want to sit down and watch your skin grow, but it's like watching your fingernails grow, right? So 10 days later, I'm in the office to get the stitches out, and I got like, I don't know, 68, 80 stitches or something just right around in here. And he's cussing. I go, what's up? He goes, oh, I'd never seen this before. I said, what's wrong? He says, every stitch has skin growing over it. So he had to cut the skin and pull the stitch out, which was a lot of fun. But he says, I can't believe it. It grew over. I took this from here and I put it there and everything connected in 10 days. And the skin continued to grow. Truly amazing. Now, I actually had 2 nights of that. Parents coming from the wall. So I kind of making a short story on that, but it's not really a part of what we're doing because I can't promise you that's going to happen to you on your healings. I would like to guarantee that. I guarantee you your money back. Anybody paid money to come here, guarantee you get it back. Anyway, so having faith, nothing to do with belief. Belief, I believe the sun will come up tomorrow. Well, no, I know the sun will come up tomorrow, different than belief. I knew whatever's supposed to happen, see, here's the key. It would happen, and I'm accepting it. I'd never have gone to God and said, hey, God, I got these troubles, take them away. Can you heal my face, heal my body, take care of get rid of the cancer? It's like, I've been fighting cancer all this time, and people go, and you never prayed to God to get rid of the cancer? I said, not once, ever. In fact, I follow the Bible. They go, what do you mean? I love my enemy. Did the war on drugs make it any better? Did the war on poverty make it any better? Does the war on cancer make it any better? Don't go to war with it. It just resists. So I loved my cancer. I still love my cancer. I love you. It's another part of the training. I love you. What you fight, resists. You energize it. So love it. Love your enemies. After a while, they get tired of fighting with you, right? So same thing with that. So that's one type of healing, which we're not going to learn how to do. But when I was in the hospital for a year with absolutely nothing to do, and being 8.5 years old, a lot of energy for a young man, to be stuck in bed, had no toys, no comic books, no books, no radio, no television, no record player, no telephone, not even a landline. That's the only choice you had then. I remind my grandkids, don't come to me and tell me you can't find your phone. I never had that problem. Your age. Anyway, follow the cord. What cord? Anyway, so there I was, laying in that bed, and it's the best thing that ever happened to me. Because instead of crying, being depressed, moaning and groaning, I go, wow, I got this playground in my mind. I can do anything I want. And the only real book that I ever read up to that point in time, before I went in the hospital, and I was a little young for it, but I actually read Autobiography of a Yogi. And the chapter I really loved was Babaji's Cave. So I knew that, I didn't know some of the words, but I had the grasp of the story. And so in my mind, I was going to Babaji's Cave. In my mind, I was seeing Babaji. And which is interesting, 50 years later, to the exact week, I had another near-death experience and fell off a 30-foot cliff in the Himalayan mountains after coming back from Babaji's Cave and had an encounter with a cobra, and it's a whole story. But it was 50 years later. At the end of all these predictions, that's where it ended up. Like, oh, I'm at the end of this. Now I don't know what's going on. I'm like everybody else. How sad that is. I didn't realize that people don't, You wake up, you don't know what's going to happen today. You don't know what's going to happen 3 days from now. I pity you. That's terrible. I mean, it's like, how do you exist? My next book coming out is called I Still Remember Tomorrow. Don't ask me where my keys are at to my car. Don't ask me why I'm in a room. But I do know what's going to happen tomorrow. And I found that, and I mentioned that because there's a story I don't tell normally. I had just gotten a whole bunch of flashes on, it was an airplane crash in Chicago. And I saw it. I told my wife, oh, is this airplane going to crash? It's going to kill these people and stuff. And, yeah, okay. No. 3 or 4 hours later on the news, the airplane crashed in Chicago, and it was, and then something else happened, and it was another national disaster. And then I went to a gas station, and there was a couple on a motorcycle filling up, beautiful couple. And I'm going, they're leaving here, they're going to crash. They're going to be all messed up, right? And then when I went to Vietnam, I knew who was going to get killed, who was going to get wounded, what aircrafts were going to crash and burn. If you read my book, you'll see I document a lot of that. And I reached a point in time, I go, why give me the information if I can't do anything to help these people? I mean, what good is it? No, well, this is going to happen. Big deal. Can you stop it? No. Like Kennedy assassination. Nobody's going to listen to a kid, right? So I, in a low moment of my life, I go, I don't want this gift. Why should I know all these terrible things are going to happen to people if I can't do nothing about it? It makes me feel worse. Woke up the next morning, and it was like losing my sight and losing my hearing. I didn't know what was going to happen to anything. I couldn't believe it. I go, my God, this is dark. This is terrible. I don't know what's going to happen today. How do regular people live? How do you get up in the morning and brush your teeth knowing you don't know what's going to happen today? Instant empathy for everybody. I'm sorry, but at that time I'm just thinking, hey, come on. I would say, follow your heart. Use your intuition. And people look at me like, what? And now I go, oh, yeah. Most people have to use their brain to figure out what's going on, right? They take a guess. When I lost that, it was for like 2 weeks. And I cried. I don't normally cry, but I cried. I apologized, and whatever happens, if you want to give me the gift back, I'm happy. And then I came back, and I learned a big lesson. I really don't know how you guys survive. But I found out that every decision I made, from what I cooked for breakfast, to what job I went to what movie, anything I did, everything was based on feelings. I totally tuned in with my feelings. Well, this is the right thing to do. We should do this. I turn there instead of there. Leave now. How many of you have done that? How many of you actually in your own way have turned off listening to your feelings? Yeah. When you start hearing the quiet whispers and you respond to them, they don't have to get so loud. You'll, oh, okay. Use a muscle, build a muscle. Use intuition, build intuition. All right, so there I am in the hospital as I wander through my life with you. And laying there in bed, I'm thinking, well, I don't know much about meditation and all these things. I was studying at the time under Kriyananda, who was coming to my area where I'd go to like Sunday school. And so I was learning some basics. But while I was laying there in bed, I started playing around, making up my own meditations. Like I'd lay there and imagine that I'm breathing, and I'm breathing energy through my navel, and it's going up my spine, it's going down, there's light, there's sound. I mean, all kinds of stuff I was making up, which I thought was totally made up until I went to India 50 years later and met a Tibetan monk who didn't speak English, spent 3 days with him. I didn't speak his language. Learned more from that man in 3 days with no conversation than I learned from anybody else ever. And he taught me this technique. I go, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I made that up. How can you know about that? But one of the other things I did was I remembered the recharging exercises. And I thought, why would Yogananda think it's so important that that's one of the first things he teaches you before he teaches you the basic meditation? It's not just to get your body ready for meditation. It's about pulling energy into your spine. It's pulling energy into you. It's focusing that energy. When I'm talking about recharging exercises, some people didn't know what I was talking about. Think about dynamic tension. Like if you were have an individual, I got a barbell, say it's 60-pound barbell, and I just pretend I'm lifting it, but I tighten up my body, and it's like just all your muscles think you're lifting it, and you build up your muscles. But you're also, by visualizing the energy coming in and going down, and you're doing this, you brought energy into your entire spinal cord. You brought energy into your all your chakras. It's sitting there. Now, it was designed supposedly to make it so you'd be ready to meditate, but it's so much deeper. It's not just about meditation. It's about changing your frequency. You bring energy in, it changes you, your frequency. Your tuning forks, it's vibrating at a higher rate. The higher rate you vibrate, the more higher up you get in your chakras, the higher up you get total. Vibrates quicker, faster. And when you're around someone that vibrates like you feel an affinity. If it's a low vibration, high vibration, hopefully this group here, you're probably vibrating about the same. Everybody's kind of enjoying the company. Everybody's peaceful. There's a calmness in this group. Because as I'm talking, and you realize there's a method to my madness, although there's a lot of madness. But I'm going to tell you stories today, and I'm going to kind of go around and go, he ain't following any script. Where's this guy going? That's intentional. Because I really want to lose your intellectual mind. I want to lose that process. I want you after a while to go, oh, damn, he's telling another story, man. This is, all right, and your mind's just going to kind of drone out. Logic's going to disappear. This digital conversation you're having with yourself, trying to analyze everything, will kind of fade, where you're just sitting there and you're just absorbing. That's where I want you at. I just want you to absorb. Because this whole thing about reality, not reality, and whether, what do you believe, what don't you believe? And I'm telling you, this is self-healing. It's also self-realization. It's also, don't take anybody's word for anything. If you experience, it's real. If you haven't experienced, it's theory. So when I'm talking to you today about healing, I'm saying, here's what happened to me. This is my personal experience. It's my truth. My truth. You could question that truth. No law says you can't. But it's not real until you've experienced it. And like I was telling her, I said, even my grandson, I don't know if you guys heard it, but basically my grandson came up to me, he was like age 5. I said, question everything. He goes, why? I said, good, you learned, right? Why? Okay, so there I'm in bed. Let's go back. Let's take you back to the healing process, and we'll get philosophical towards the end here. All right, so I'm in the hospital bed, and I realize that all this energy is coming into me. I could do these recharge exercises, basically laying down, tightening up my body. What's that one where you tighten the toes and the ankles? You go all the way up, doing the whole body, and you tense. It was charging my body up really good. And I go, well, what do we do with this energy? Because a part of me says, I'm only 8.5 years old. I'm going, that's energy. I'm charging a battery. What am I going to do with that? So when I get out of the hospital, 1 year later, 9.5 years old, and I'm home a few days. First day I'm home, I'm with my mother, and we hear the sound of this beautiful choir of women singing, this beautiful angelic voices. And there was no television on, no record player, no radio, but we're still hearing this loud sound. So we thought it was a neighbor. We went outside, couldn't find the source, walked half a block down one way, a block the other way, still heard the singing. Went on for an hour. Finally, my mother says, it's the sound of angels. I said, okay, great. So the next day, we had a dog. It was a poodle, miniature poodle. And it runs out onto the road in front of my house. And it gets hit by a car going about 40, 45 miles an hour. Splat. I run out there, and I'm looking at this animal, and his tongue's hanging out the side of his mouth. There's blood trickling the other side. Blood coming from the eyes, the tear ducts. There's blood coming from his ears. Blood coming from his nose. and he's kind of flattened. And he's like, that lip, it didn't look good. Now, a normal adult would say, that's it, he's gone, right? But being a child, like I am still now today, I'm believing that I can help this animal because I love this animal. And I use a combination of love with dynamic tension. I took the dog and I put it on my lap in the house, and then I just took it. My hands were just like vibrating like that, right? And I just like that on the dog, and then it was like sharp, just like electricity going, sparks, right? And the dog jumps up just like it got, like I had one of those paddles, right? Clear, boom, and the dog just went, jumped around, lived for years. Okay? No residual effect. But it was love combined with the power of releasing that energy. In other words, it was all frequency. And the animal was totally accepting to my love. See? The animal wasn't judging it. The animal wasn't going, well, intellectually, this is really a stupid thing he's doing. I'm dying. There was no argument. The animal goes, oh, he loves me. I'm feeling it, and get infused. I infused him with energy and love. Now, years later, my daughter, some of you know her, and she was in college, Sacramento State College, and I was working for the government. I was in Washington, D.C. on a business trip, and she calls in the middle of the night from Lake Tahoe and said, Dad, I broke my knee. It's really in bad shape, and the doctors here, the paramedics, everybody want me to go. It needs an operation. It's really bad. And I said, no. What do you mean, no? No, I'll be home in a couple of weeks. Leave it alone. There's nothing wrong with it. Dad, anyway. So she, when I got home, she didn't do anything. Got home, and it was in one of those casts where you got Velcro, kind of soft cast. And she was on crutches. They were waiting for it to, swelling to go down. Apparently you can't fix it unless if it's all swollen up. Anyway, so supposedly according to the x-rays and the doctors, it was in a whole bunch of pieces and it needed to be operated on. I said no. Took her into my meditation room where I've been meditating 20-something years. Laid her down on a carpet. Took a picture of Paramahansa Yogananda, set it off to the side. Gave her my Kriya beads, hold them. Took the cast off, took her crutches, threw them across the room. And I went down and I did this. And I did this to her knee, that same thing, except I had both hands on the knee, and I did it for like 2-3 minutes where I was sweating. I mean, it was just exhausting me, and then I just keeled over. And then I got up and I said, get up, get out of here. She didn't say, oh, can I? Is it okay? She got up, she walked out of the room. End of story. So she goes back a few days later to Kaiser Hospital, and they ask her, she's walking in with no cast, no crutches. They go, what happened? So she told them, and they go, look, we don't believe in miracles here. Come on. And so who told you needed an operation? She says, well, you did. Oh, and he looks at the x-rays. He says, well, maybe we made a mistake. You can't have that bad of damage and have this happen. I mean, maybe there was nothing wrong. Oh. So she comes home. She goes, Dad, you didn't do anything. No, the doctor said that it healed on its own. There was nothing wrong. I said, oh, really? Okay. 2-3 days later, trust me, I didn't do anything on this. She falls down the stairs, blows her knee out worse than it was the first time. I mean, it is bad. When you touched it, it would just go rattle in little pieces. You could hear pieces, and she's crying, oh, great pain. And I said, come on back in there. And I laid her down. I did it again. Except this time, when I told her to get up, I said, it's 95% healed. It's going to take 5%, and you'll just feel just a little tinge, but you'll be able to function. But in 6 months, it'll be 100%. It's exactly what happened. Her placebo. She believed that. That was kind of testing her too. Look, I don't want to do this twice. Come on, kid. So if I told her it had been 100%, it would have been 100%, but I told her it was 95. Think about the power of the mind. If you go to the doctor and the doctor says, Hey, doctor. Anyway, you go to the doctor, and the doctor says, you got 6 months to live. Guess what? If you believe that, how much time you got? 6 months to live. I've seen it time after time after time. So it's not what you're told. It's not even really what's wrong. It's about your personal acceptance and personal belief. That's why placebos, that's why if I told you take these pills and they were nothing but sugar, but you didn't know that, I said, these are secret formula I got from India, and this is going to make you whatever, right? It's going to help you. If you really believed it, you trusted me, guess what? It'll work. If you believe the doctor, it'll work. Whatever you believe in, it'll work. I'm telling you, believe in yourself. The power of God is you, within you. There isn't anything else. All disease, body, mind, spirit, everything is a spiritual disease. Someplace you get out of whack, you worry, you take stress really bad at work. Next thing you know, oh, you got heart disease. Well, okay, I'll tell you my case. I've had 12 major heart attacks. I mean, I've had quadruple bypass. I got 8 stents. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, bad ones, not counting 50 or 60 minor heart attacks. We're talking about just the major ones, right? But when I was from 1970 through 1990s, I was counseling all these veterans and people and stuff like I normally do on my own time. And I'd come home, I'd tell my wife, I go, man, that just breaks my heart, listen to this guy's story. That just kills my heart. That just, I use terms like that. You know what? My mind knows no difference between reality and philosophy, me just saying it breaks my heart. I really truly believe that my heart took that literally. And so the heart's going to try to protect itself. I threw this philosophy out to a heart doctor once. I couldn't believe he agreed with me. Of course, it was an Indian doctor. But I said, is it possible, doctor, that my heart was trying to protect itself by all these blockages, keeping all this stuff from coming to my heart? And he looked at me, and he'd been a doctor quite a while, and he goes, well, in India, we believe that's possible. I said, that's good enough for me, doc. So I stopped doing that. I stopped referring to myself as having a broken heart. I read a few years ago that they've actually had a study done in the last decade or two that shows that part of the heart muscle, it's the same as the brain tissue. There's a part of your heart that actually is brain tissue. And people watch that on YouTube or anything? A few people? And I go, what? Because I always feel with my heart. I talk with my heart. Everything's with my heart. So it's not so crazy that your heart really is interconnected with your whole system. So really, really be careful. And anytime you talk about yourself for health-wise, when you say, I am sick, I am this, I am that, whatever you put after I am, you just did so with steroids. I mean, it's just boom, right? So if you say I am, better follow with something like, I am God, I am love, I am truth, I'm divine, something positive. But most of us, I'm so stupid. I'm ugly. Well, you know. So then you got to ask yourself, if you're a child and you're in a household where people say, you're so stupid, you're dumb, you're ugly, you're never going to amount to anything. How many times have our parents or us as parents have done that to our own children? You're so clumsy, you know. We're planting these same seeds of darkness in our own children, and they've been planted in us. What's planted in us will grow in others because we haven't forgiven ourselves. We haven't loved ourselves. And you got to start first by forgiving you, but also realize your parents, they didn't go to college to get a degree in being a parent. They're making it up as they're going along based on what your grandparents gave them and their great-grandparents gave them. So lighten up on your parents. We talked about this with somebody here earlier, where if you didn't have a bad childhood, then you're not on the spiritual journey. Some blessed people out there that have beautiful parents. wherever you're at, you could be quiet. You don't want to embarrass you because you're probably not, oh, geez, I'm ashamed. I had good parents. But almost everybody on the spiritual path has gone through this philosophical thing like, good God, how did I get these people as parents, man? Nobody loves me. I'm not getting a hug. I'm not getting appreciation. I go to college. They don't care. Whatever it is, I'm not the favorite child. Hell, I don't even know if I'm their child, So you got to start by loving you, because in most cases with spiritually journeying people going someplace, most of you came from a household, well, you know what? You weren't even that valued. I mean, if I'm saying something untrue, raise your hand. If there's somebody here that's absolutely 100% loved by their parents and everything I'm saying is, thank you, bless your heart, your blessed soul. Sorry you missed out on all the action. But it's not as much fun as it sounds. But, so, don't live in the past. This whole thing with healing, don't live in the past. See yourself tomorrow healed. See yourself today healing. But if you're living in the past will continue to live with you. Now, if those of us seen pictures of me, I don't know, maybe they're on in my books or something. You take a look at pictures that are 20, 25 years old. If you look at them, I'm actually older looking than I am right now. I don't know, anybody seen what I'm talking? You know what I'm talking about, Kim, right? Yeah, pictures. My pictures that are decades old are older looking than I am now. Because in the last couple decades, I've been practicing very dramatically, I love me. Now, when I say I love me, I want to caution you, because I really want you in your mind, to be saying, I love me, or I love you, or, however you want to dress yourself. It's not ego. It's true value in yourself. It's like, well, I love me. God and I are one, therefore I love God. And she's God. You're God. Therefore I love you too. I don't have to like any of you. I reserve that right. But you got to love them, right? So you can't give what you don't possess. If you're not loving yourself, you can't give your child love. You can't give your partner love. I mean, a lot of people, I don't want to step on any toes. Don't raise no hands. But a lot of people marry people because, and I hear this, oh, it's my better half. They filled in the void I didn't have. They're giving me this value. Wow. You didn't have enough for yourself already? Nobody fills in what you lack. And if you're marrying somebody or have a relationship with somebody because you're trying to get that, I'm telling you, start with you. Love you, make you better. And if they add to that, great, but they're not going to make you whole. Nobody can make you whole. There's people out there that are very loving. They can make your day nice. That's beautiful. But in a healthy relationship, they got to love them, and you got to love you. And now you got a healthy relationship. Because most people fall in love with people, and it's like, I love you, but if you don't love me back, I'm going to stab you. I'm going to beat you up. I'm going to follow you around and internet and say bad things. I mean, it's like people go crazy. Well, I love you, but you don't love me back. And then they're mad at them. Well, if you really love somebody, if they didn't love you back, you go, well, I still love them. That's not happening with a lot of people, trust me. So, all right. So that's the method on the energy. I'll tell you a couple more times I used that energy thing. I was in India. I was crossing the Ganges River. Traffic was backed up because everybody's getting out and getting, containers of water from the river. And a bus coming down the wrong side, wrong lane, going the wrong direction. Truck's coming, so it pulls off and hits this vehicle next to me, a tractor, pulling a trailer full of sugar beets. On top of the sugar beet trailer was this old guy. I have no clue how old, but he was an old man. Dirty clothes, dirty hands. And me and him been looking at each other in this traffic when it was stopped. And I was eyeballing him, and he was eyeballing me, and it was like a connection. It was like, he's a human being, right? And I've seen this guy. And all of a sudden, this tractor gets hit at jackknifes. He falls off the top. Boom, splat. He lands with the back of his head on the asphalt. And just like the dog. Remember the dog? blood coming out. And he's laying there and he's not breathing. There appears to be no pulse. I run out of the car I have. I go up next to him and I don't want to do artificial respiration. I mean, this whole area where I was at, there was AIDS, there was hepatitis, there was all kinds of communicable diseases and everything. I just go, no. But I held him and I loved him. And I had a bottle of water and I washed his face. And I loved him. I asked Babaji to bless him. Eyes open up, he's breathing. Boom, he's back. Love. Didn't even have to do the energy. Just the power of love. Focused love. Now, I tell people you have to buy in on this, but I got cases where I had a next door neighbor and she had cancer to the spine. It crippled her up and she was in a wheelchair and then she went to the hospital and then it was going to her brain and everything. And she was in a coma and they said she was probably going to die within a few days, a couple weeks. She was in a coma. Before she went in a coma, she told me that the one thing in her life she really wanted to do, she wanted to see her new grandchild be born from her son and get a photo with him, so grandma and the kid, the first grandkid. And that's all she wanted. So it was a week before Christmas. So I went to the ICU, and of course I pulled my Reverend card. I'm Reverend Bill, I'm her minister, and so they let you in. Believe it or not, they'll let you in to see somebody in ICU. So I go in there and I do this, I do the same technique to her. Now she's unconscious. Only thing I said to her is, I love you. And boom, I zapped that. Next day she was awake and they'd let her check out to go home because they knew they couldn't do anything to save her life, but she was awake and in a wheelchair. So I go by her house and she's there and taking pictures with her grandkids she got to meet. And it was Christmas week and then it was New Year's and then ambulance pulled up. I saw her take her out. She was dead. Didn't change her death date. Not one day. She died when she was supposed to die. But she was able to fulfill that last wish that she had, to be with her grandchild, get a photo. Okay? Now, I'm telling you that she did buy in at some level, even though it wasn't eyeball to eyeball thing. When you're unconscious, you're still here. That's why sleep training works. People listen to a recording while they're sleeping. If you're in a coma, you're still here. People come out of comas and they go, oh yeah, I heard all this stuff going on. So when you're visiting somebody in a coma, really be aware that everything you say, so if it's all negative, oh, this person's going to die and this and that, you're not giving the people any energy to go. So really be careful. So my mother-in-law, she had a stroke in the Catholic Church in a pew in the church on Easter Sunday. And they took her and she was unconscious and they put her in a place to die, basically to die. But they were keeping her alive by feeding her artificially. They said, well, she's never going to come back. I go, let's see what she wants, right? So she was 9 days unconscious. I went in there and I did the same technique. And she sat up after 9 days doing nothing, opened her eyes, looked at me and kind of did this, like, do it, man. Just do it. Let me go. And then she laid back down. Next day, she died. So energy and vibration are there to serve. But I'm going to tell you right now, when it's your time to, you're not going to be pulling people from, they may look dead, medically and everything, but when their time to go, it's their time to go. You're not going to be playing that role. I'm not teaching you that. But I'm teaching you that you can change the energy and the vibration of people. And you can change the situation for them, but it's those people that are buying in on it. Even these people in a coma, they felt it, they heard me say I loved them, they felt it, they felt the energy. It's like tuning fork. I got this tuning fork, I'm a tuning fork, and when I touch them, I'm tuning their tuning fork. But it's them that's waking up. It's them who's healing themselves. It was my daughter that healed herself. Wasn't me. Okay, so let's talk about healing with love. I keep mentioning that. That's with tension. But intention with love. is the key. All right, so I'm telling people, say you love yourself. It's not ego. If you go around out loud saying, I love me, people are going to lock you up. He's weird. All right. So we're not talking that. We're talking in your head, I love me. And if you got a bad knee or you got a face torn up, like I used to take my hands, I put my hands over my head and I go, I love you. I love me. I love my nose. I love the cancer. I love the stitches. I love the doctor. I love this happened. No regret. No, take this away. Why me? Woe is me. It was always, I accept whatever happens. See, that's the whole thing with healing. You got to be able to say, whatever it is that God wants, be brave enough, have the wisdom to say, bring it on. Most people don't. They want to go to God and say, God, hey, you made a mistake. You gave me a house, a beautiful job, nice spouse, but hey, I don't want this cancer. I don't want this disease. Take that gift back. It don't work that way. You take all the gifts and be grateful for every gift that you're given. Grateful. So, yes, I'm grateful for cancer because cancer got me on this track and how to teach it. And had I not gone through the nose removal and all the stitches, I had one time 300 stitches in the face. That's a couple, in case you're wondering. You get a pimple sometime, you go, oh my God, I got a pimple in the face, can't go outside. Okay. But everything that happens to you, and I'm going to say it again, and repeat it the whole thing, everything that happens to you is supposed to happen to you. And that, if you have that attitude, then you accept whatever it is. Don't pray, take it away. Pray for tools. God, give me the wisdom to handle this. Give me the courage to handle this. Give me the strength. Give me the knowledge I need. Give me the patience I need to deal with this crazy person I'm dealing with. Whatever it is. Don't tell God, you made a mistake, take it, hey, take it away. I don't want it. I'm trying to teach people to be true warriors. We're not talking to go out and carrying a gun, fighting a war. We're talking about the real warrior, spiritual warrior. It's the soul that you're fighting here. It's good against evil. It's you against delusion. Trust your own intuition. Trust your heart. Believe in who you are. But love works. All right, see how it works. I go in, I get surgery done, many, 15 surgeries, it's the same for each one. I come back, I got stitches, they burned, they stitched, it's hurting. And I'll sit there and I'll go home, no pills. I put my hand on my face over all the wounds, and I just go, I love my nose. Ain't no nose there, but I love my nose. And I love my cancer, and I love me. Please forgive me for hurting you for all those years in the sun or whatever, right? Forgive me, but I love you. And I'm grateful to God. Thank you for giving me this so I could go through it, so I can teach others how to handle pain, how I can teach others how to heal. Thank you. Thank you for waking me up what's real and what's valuable in life. So I'd find all these good things to say, be thankful for. But I'd say, I love you. 2, 3 minutes. I take my hand down. No pain. Gone. Vanished. Simple. Boom. So then I just had an operation. I just did that. The next day, I lose 1.5 inches or 1.25 inches in my height. Not sure if it was over a course of time or if it was but when I had real tremendous back pain, I go to the doctor and the guy goes, you're 1.5 inches shorter than you were here last time, right? And it was like less than a year. And the entire spinal column collapsed, vertebrae on vertebrae, no space. If you took an x-ray now, it'll show it's all messed up. No space. Total, how many people have back pain? I don't think it gets much worse than back pain, tooth pain. There you go. So there was no way I was getting any relief. I lay in bed, crawl up in a prenatal position, didn't help. Sitting didn't help. Standing didn't help. Walking didn't help. Couch didn't help. Laying on the carpet didn't. Nothing. And I'm going, this is really terrible. Then I remembered, well, let's give it love. So I go there, and I'm thinking about it, and I'm going, I just got to give it love. And I sat in my chair, and just the thought of what I was going to do, I didn't do anything else. It was gone. It didn't straighten out my back. You'll notice I'm kind of walking. It didn't straighten out my back. It didn't get rid of the problem. But if you have a problem physically and there's no pain, who cares? It's cosmetics, right? So I go, that's pretty good. So then a few months later, I bite into a pitless date. You know, once in a while they don't take all the pits out, right? So I bite into one, and it's got a pit, and it breaks two molars on the top, one on the bottom. Not only did it break them, but shards of teeth. It was like little pieces all over. It was totally shattered. And they were actually down into the gums, down into the nerves. As soon as it happened, I'm going, you know, when you breathe in with a bad tooth and you feel the air over the nerve, you go, oh, I feel that. Yeah, that's real, right? And you get cold water, no way. Food, no way. So it was during COVID, and during COVID, no doctor was taking on new patients for dentists. They didn't want you. You know, I'm going there because I didn't have a dentist because basically I think I've had 4 cavities in my 70-something years. Believe it or not, my kids are in their 50s, retired. Neither one's ever had a cavity. So take care of your teeth all you want. I really think it's genetics. I don't want to step on any toes here, but these people I'd brush, I did. No, it's genetics. It's what your parents ate, what your grandparents ate, what you eat. Anyway, so there I am. I can't get anybody. 3 days later, I'm in pain. I can't eat. I go online and I go emergency numbers for. There was a guy in town had listed emergency number for dental work. I called him up at 4 o'clock in the morning, woke him up. He wasn't happy. I said, well, I think this is emergency. And he goes, well, I don't have room for new patients, but I tell you what, I'll examine you and then give you a diagnosis. I said, okay, I already know what's wrong. So I go into his office, takes x-rays, and he tells me, you got 3 broken teeth. I go, yeah, they're shattered. There's shards of your teeth down in your gums. You know, your nerves are all damaged. He says, probably going to have to pull them all out. If I try to save them, you got 3 root canals we're looking at. And if we do the root canals, after we take them out, then we got to put a peg in there and got to put a false tooth. I mean, he's thinking 20 grand or something. I mean, his eyes are going crazy, right? Oh yeah, I mean, I can squeeze you in when I get something happens. So I go back and I still got the pain because he says, I'll see you, and this is in March. He says, I'll put you on the schedule here for August 28th. And I go, okay, doc. I said, put me on your waiting list. Somebody cancels. I said, okay. So I go back home, and some people here will know what I'm talking about. Steve Clark, you know Steve Clark, Hamsa in England. Probably met him, but you'll remember him. Anyway, so I try this technique on myself, and then I called my friend. The technique was, I come back and I just put my hands on my jaw and I go, I love me. I'm sorry, teeth, I did this to you, but I love you, and I'm going to try to take good care of you. I love you. Gone. I go, wow, that's pretty good. So I went down and I tested it with a glass of ice water from the refrigerator. Nothing. Had something to eat. Nothing. So I called up my friend and did a video chat with him, and he's in England, and he's looking like he's in pain. I tell him, I say, hey, look, this worked on the teeth, blah, blah, blah. I don't know why I'm calling you, but I'm letting you know. So about 5 or 6 days later, he contacts me. He had like 6, 7, or 8 teeth that had to be pulled, and he had to wait. And he was in great pain because they were infected and, a big mess. And he said he tried my technique, and he was able to withstand. He lowered the pain to about less than half, and he was able to wait. And he was grateful. And I thought, well, that's interesting. So I did a video. I posted the video on my YouTube channel. You might want to watch it. And first month, about 100 people wrote me that just by watching that video, they were healed of whatever it was that they had. Oh my God, this guy, quote unquote, can heal teeth. He can heal anything. And again, self-healing. I'm not healing anybody else's teeth, but it's self-healing. I believed I could do it. But I didn't care if it worked. I just loved it. I didn't even ask for the pain to go away. So that's the difference. So few months later, after doing that, I realized that self-love really is the key to all healing. I mean, how many people do you know have healed broken teeth? You got people that wave their hands over you and they're going to do Reiki and I feel better now. Whatever I had, I feel better. Have you fixed a broken bone? Broken kneecap? Have you taken somebody out of a coma? A tooth. A tooth more impresses everybody more than me taking somebody out of a coma. It's like, well, anybody can do that, right? Anybody can do a broken arm, leg, yeah, okay. But a tooth, everybody believes you can't fix a tooth. All right, so I go back to the dentist a week later. And he says, come on in. Me and the other dentist are going to be here. We're going to take care of you. We've canceled everything. It's just you. This is going to be all day, right? Come on in. Make sure you got a lot of money, right? I said, okay. So I show up there, and he has the x-ray, and him and his partner sitting there looking at it going, oh, yeah, yeah. If we pull them out, we got to do a root canal. So that's a tooth pulling out and a root canal. Yeah, that's a pretty good deal. And then he goes, if you really get lucky, you know, he goes, well, then they look at each other and go, no, you're not that lucky. All right, so I go in there and I sit, and like 45 minutes after he tells me all this stuff, he's done. They got the whole day set just for me, right? And he goes, well, we're done. And I go, really? And he goes, well, I apologize. I didn't have to pull him. I said, well, thank you, Doc. That's good. He says, I didn't have to do a root canal. I said, well, that was nice, thank you. He says, I didn't even do a crown molar, one of those little caps, what do you call those things? No caps. He says, I just kind of polished it up and fooled around, put a little filling in there. It's all done. Did the teeth heal? Were they in the process of being totally healed? 45 minutes versus all day in a dentist chair? That's the power of self-love. Okay. So when I talk about frequency, it's not just recharging. That's one way to get energy. When people talk about manifesting, they think it's putting pictures on the refrigerator and having this storyboard. I want a new car. I want a Jaguar, or whatever it is they want. Instead of really manifesting what they need. Manifest love in your life. Manifest compassion. Manifest friendship, love, whatever. These are the important things. Leave the details up to God. Because if I get this house and it's got 20 bedrooms and 30,000 square feet, I'm going to be happy. No, you won't. You're always chasing things. And if you're meditating, seeking things instead of seeking to love God, not even be loved by God, just to love God, then you're missing the value of your meditation and you're missing the process. Because everybody will teach you, do these techniques, do this, do that, and you focus on the technique with all your intellect, and you get done, and I come back to you 25, 30 years later doing Kriya, and I'll tell you what, I've met people doing Kriya 30, 35 years, and they ain't changed a bit. They're still the same people they were because they intellectualized the process and they're counting and their warmth and the cold and the up and the down and where's my tongue and where's my hands. And then they're analyzing it as they go. And so I'm telling you, technique are good, but that's not the real meditation. The real meditation starts when you stop the technique and you're sitting there in the pregnant silence, in love with the divine, not to be loved by the divine, not seeking self-realization, seeking enlightenment, seeking samadhi, no gifts. You're there just to love God in a very unselfish, loving, childlike way. Child loving the parent. Parent always takes care of their needs. You want something? Just love. Don't insist on what you need because you don't really know what you want. If what you want is necessarily not good for you. I mean, I want cookies and milk, but that doesn't make a good dinner. Makes a fat, Irishman. But anyway, so Prayer is a service of love to the divine. Don't go in with any ideas of realizing or accomplishing anything or getting any cities or powers. If you do, you're always going to be chasing. Somebody says, oh, I want to see Babaji. I'm going to do everything. How do I go see Babaji? I said, first off, don't seek him. Love him. Seek first the kingdom of God. Everything else be given to you. It's just it's an after effect. But you're not even doing it for that reason. So that's just something I want to say because people are into this thing about materializing stuff. And I'm telling people, if you want to manifest stuff in your life and you're making this direct effort, you got to stop and realize that everything in your life, everything that's happened to you has been manifested by you. There's nothing that you haven't manifested. You're doing it all. Show me how to manifest. You're doing it every day. Your desires, your wants, your dreams, what you read feeds that. What you watch in a movie or television feeds that. Your anger, your hate, your love, your past lives. Everything is in the mix when it comes to manifesting your future. It's karmic. So when it comes to creating new, vibrant energy, you're trying to change your frequency, realize that you are manifesting different frequencies. If you're eating red meat, pork, if you're drinking booze, you're doing dope, if you're fighting with people, you're beating up your spouse, you're cheating on your taxes, you're a terrible person to your friends and neighbors and your children. The list goes on. All these negative things you do, you can do all the Kriya Yoga you want. But the balance of the ledger is you ain't changed any frequency. You're still you, and you got this arrogant attitude, well, if I'm doing 144 Kriya Yogas every morning and every night, and I'm doing this, and God don't care. Where's your heart? Who do you love? I mean, sometimes you do Kriya Yoga, you maybe count 5 or 6 and you're out of it for a couple hours and you come back and go, oh, I didn't finish it. Damn, I'm not doing good on this because I didn't finish it. Well, no, you did, unless you fell asleep, which is another possibility. So manifesting health is by changing your vibration. So first off, if you want to heal yourself, take a look at what affects your energy, what you eat. So I'm not going to give a lot of advice on that. Pretty much everybody knows that heavy meats and heavy carbs, all that stuff is going to affect your vibration level. It's not good. It's not bad. Oh, you eat meat. No, it's not a sin. Who cares? But if you want your vibrations to be at the highest, then eat food that is gentle to your spirit. Energy food. Okay? Energy drinks. If you're a lot of caffeine drinks, that's not helping your energy. If you're doing ayahuasca, marijuana, crack, cocaine, any of those, name them all. I'm sorry, LSD, all of them. Oh my God, it's okay, it's a mushroom. You know what? You're still, if you're doing mushrooms and all these other plant-based drugs, you're chasing experiences. You're not loving God. Oh, it's not addictive. I just do it every day. I mean, I don't know how many people tell, oh, it's not addictive. I can stop it. I stopped 100 times already. So drugs aren't good. They aren't bad. They're drugs. But if you're doing that for the experience of getting high and having these spiritual experiences, then you miss the boat. Chase what's important. God. Just love God. And that has everything to do with your vibrations. Who you associate with. If you go into bars all the time, you're going to have a different energy level there. It's hard to have high frequency in a bar, right? Right? If you're with your local drug dealer, it's going to be, frequency's a little lower. So I'm trying to change your thing. If you go to something like this once a week, you can actually bring it up. That you'll leave here, your energy is going to change for a week or two. But if you leave here and then you go have a steak dinner and a glass of bourbon, go have some sex, wild sex, all these things are not good or bad. I'm just telling you, they drain your energy levels. Everything in moderation is the good ones. Everything in moderation, but I'm telling you, some things in moderation is not even a good thing. So just take a look, see how it affects your energy. That's it. Not sin. Oh, don't do this. It's no, I'm not into that. All right. So that you were talking about changing the frequency, that was kind of indirectly answering your question about frequencies. What you read, what you watch on television, what you look at on the internet can be a terrible place. You can watch a lot of pornography and terrible things on there and murders and stuff. Or you can go on there and you can watch these great yogis and beautiful things about wonderful people, and you can learn lessons, and there's great talks. And so everything is a tool, can be used for good or bad, like the internet. Hear that lonesome whistle blowing. There you go. I used to be a chaplain at Folsom Prison, so it feels right at home. So when I was a chaplain at Folsom Prison, my main concern was to teach them the basics. Don't kill your roommate. Don't beat up the guards. Don't steal. But this group is past the basics. You guys are looking at something different. You're hungry. That's why you're here. My job is to feed you a little bit, to inspire you. But I cannot do something for you that only you can do, and that is heal yourself. All right. I'm going to tell you something that I usually forget because I figure everybody in this group knows this. When you work on any kind of healing, what's the first thing you got to do? You got to protect yourself, right? So you want to imagine whichever technique you use. Some people imagine a white light around you, protective glow, whatever it is, your guru's there. But have some kind of protection around you. And when I say imagine, some people go, it's imagine. No. Imagination is one of the strongest manifestors in the world. Olympic teams for the last several Olympics. The swimmers and the track guys, they'll have them lay down inside a building and they talk to them. They say, okay, and they got a guy talking to them. Now you're getting ready for the race. Here's how you feel. And they talk them through this race. They're going to race a mile, right? And when you get to there, you're feeling that. Then they go through the swim or the run or whatever they're doing in their imagination successfully over and over and over again, picturing how they're going to do it. And then when they get out there in the real world, even though they didn't have that many live tries like doing pole vaulting, the memory's in there. It's a part of their nature. They're going to fulfill their desires. Now, if you're like me and you're 5'6" and 655 pounds, I can't imagine I'm the new Michael Jordan. So you're going to have a reality level, right? So put checks on that. But if you have talent, you've done the work, you've taken the action, imagining and visualizing will focus that success. So we focus the energy around me because I'm going to do this. She should be concerned about me too. She should focus that energy around her, protect her from anything unwanted. She's only inviting the healing energy. So just in your mind, just have that intention. All right? And then SRFers should know this. When you're doing a healing service, you rub your hands together. Why? Because it's static electricity, builds it up, right? And I usually just kind of clap them, but you can do whatever you want. Some people, different practices, will do this or this. All does the same thing. So whatever you feel comfortable doing, you can do all three. I don't care. So then you take your hands, and she's prepared herself. I visualize a white light around me. And I take my hands and I'm visualizing energy as light, as love, transversing through the top of my head, going through all my chakras, and then coming back out through my antenna, fingers, the hands. I'm imagining that. Remember, imagining and visualizing are very, very important. If you notice when you do the recharging exercises, this whole being mindful of what you're doing is very important. Same thing with this, being mindful. Okay, so we rub the hands together, grasp in the front, one behind the head, because what I'm doing is I'm visualizing this energy from my hands going across and then down her spine, right? So I'm here, and then I just Babaji loves you. You are loved more than you'll ever know. You are forgiven. Jesus loves you. Babaji loves you. You'll be healed to the degree which you believe. Go forth. Blessings. Okay. And I say something to people, you can say whatever you want. I don't say the same thing to everybody. Some things yes, some things no. And once in a while I'll do something different. Come up here, I'll show you. Sometimes I do something different. I'm just asking you to just do the basics. But sometimes you'll come up with somebody, hang on, let's do this first. Visualizing. Sometimes you'll, like why I picked you is because I'm visualizing, because she's coming for a different reason. I'm looking at her, and my thought is, no, I'm going to kind of touch her spiritual life first, and I'm going to have her focus and visualize there. I don't know why. I just go with my feelings. So in her case, I'm going to tell you, focus there. I want you to focus there, okay? All right, now I'm going to do. But meanwhile, she's focused here, okay? Babaji loves you. You are loved more than you'll ever know. You are forgiven. You are loved. Find peace. You will be healed to the degree in which you believe it. Go forth in love and peace. Okay, so that's another. Babaji loves you. Jesus loves you. You are loved. You are forgiven. You will be healed to the degree of your own faith. Go forth in love and peace. Babaji loves you, blesses you. You'll be healed to the degree of your own faith. You are forgiven. You are loved. You are blessed. I want you to know that as a group, as with all the groups I meet with, I do this out of love. I do this because some crazy part of me thinks the world needs love. As that great philosopher John Lennon once said, all you need is love, love, love. It's all you need, right? There's so much truth to that. It's all about pure love.